I started like when people would be like, "Hey, girl," and still to this day when they're like, "Hey, girl, Naveed, I know," like, "How are you?" And now I still have that at the back of my mind, like, "What do you want?" You know? And I don't like thinking that way because I'm the same way, but I feel like for me personally, I got taken advantage of so much because I love to help people.
Mm.
I love love. And if I'm like, you know what, if I can help you in any way that I can, I want to and I will. And that's just like by nature, that's like what's comfortable for me. But I'm sure it's like with guys too. But as a woman, it could get really bad because people will take, take, take. And especially if you're just like a kind person, like sometimes you don't know when to like, by the time I figured out, like, God damn, you just been taking everything from me. And now I'm like seriously drained, you know? Like, where do we draw the line? Like, how do we do this?
One of the things that I think that Q is really good at doing is when Q meets somebody, and we do have to meet people, we have to have conversations with people. Q, he looks people in the eye with an intensity that I think is very rare. And he stands physically close. Q is physically like a bigger, like physically, and I don't want to say imposing, but he holds his manliness
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
his form, right?
Confident.
And he stands very close to a person, and not in a way that's intimidating, but rather in a way that provides security. And for a lot of the people that we meet, just his energy. This is an observer. We've never had this conversation before, but I can see his intentionality, and then I can see how it permeates and how it goes forth and how it causes people to feel like, there's something about this person. He really took a moment. He turned the room off and he really looked me in the eye and he stood close to me and he held my gaze, and I feel like I really connected with him. And he's masterful at it. And I don't want to sell myself short because obviously in order to get to the point where I have in my career, everybody has to be good at that sort of a thing. But where that can be very intimidating for me, at a point when nobody knows who you are, you just kind of move how you move through a room. But once you get to a point where people understand, like, oh, that's the guy that whatever I was doing in the past or whatever I'm doing in the future now, people start to recognize you and they come with their own expectations of who you're supposed to be to them. For those familiar, think prosopagnosia, but a mild, case of that. And so remembering people's faces is very challenging for me. Add to that just like most folks, I'm not good with names.
Yeah.
And so I can remember an experience, I can remember an emotional imprint, but remembering you're the same person, if you have a different outfit or, a different haircut,
Yeah.
I still watch cartoons because it's easy to follow the main character. They don't change their clothes. You go and change your clothes, you might look like a different person, not you.
True.
But, it takes a long time
Yeah.
for me to really, and a lot of different experiences. And so when I'm in a room full of people, some of which might know me, some of which might not, it's very easy for me to, as Q refers to it, fry people. And and people will come up and I just have no idea there, and they're talking and they're like, "Hey, remember this?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah," and I'm catching up to the conversation. And everybody deserves to be remembered. I think if nothing
Yeah.
else, everyone deserves that. And
Fast forward, this thing with Hennessy is really starting to take off. And again, they expected me to fail. It wasn't personal about me, but I was pushing a new cognac in the desert. And at the time, tequila and vodka were what moved in Arizona. And a cognac, unfortunately for a lot of Scottsdale club owners back then, meant black people. And the last thing they wanted in their clubs was more black people. So trying to get this cognac off the ground in a market where it didn't perform well and in a nightlife scene that didn't want more black people showing up, I had a lot of challenges.